I've been watching videos of monks walking across the United States for the Walk of Peace. Not marching, not chanting, not preaching, just walking. And everywhere they go, something happens. People slow down. People begin to cry. Children run toward them. Crowds form, not around an event, but around a presence. No arguments, no slogans, no efforts to persuade. And it made me realize that what we're witnessing isn't spiritual spectacle. It's psychological exposure. We're watching what happens when regulated human nervous systems move through a deeply dysregulated culture.
Hello and welcome to The Psychology of Us with Professor R.J. Starr, where we explore the mind's influence on life, relationships, and society. R.J. Starr is an existential psychologist, professor, and author dedicated to exploring the core challenges of human existence, how we find meaning, embrace responsibility, and navigate life's challenges. Known for a thought-provoking yet accessible approach, RJ inspires listeners to cultivate self-awareness, emotional intelligence, authenticity, and purpose. This podcast is designed for all psychology enthusiasts, practitioners, students, and anyone curious about why we think, feel, and behave the way we do. Each episode unpacks theories, explores complex questions, and offers insights that deepen understanding of the human experience. So settle in, stay curious, and discover the psychology of us.
Let's start with what this is not. People are not responding to doctrine. They're not responding to belief. They're not responding to moral argument. They're responding to non-reactivity. To stand near someone who is not rushing, not scanning, not defending, not performing, not escalating is almost unheard of right now. And when people encounter that kind of steadiness, the nervous system reacts before the mind has a chance to interpret it. That reaction often looks like tears. Not because something sad is happening, but because something has finally stopped happening. The constant internal bracing, the need to manage oneself, the background vigilance. When that pressure drops, even briefly, the body releases. That's what you're seeing. One of the most striking things in these videos is that while people cry, hug them, thank them, or pour out emotion, the monks themselves remain the same. They don't mirror the intensity. They don't amplify it. They don't retreat from it. This isn't emotional distance. It's containment. Containment means the ability to stay present with emotion without absorbing it and without trying to control it. It's a capacity that develops when someone has learned, over time, that emotions are intense but not dangerous, meaningful but not commanding. Thoughts arise, feelings arise, sensations arise, but none of them are treated as instructions. That's non-reactivity. And non-reactivity is not passivity. It's a refusal to let every internal or external stimulus dictate behavior. From a nervous system perspective, this makes perfect sense. Humans regulate each other. We entrain to pace, tone, posture, and presence. When someone nearby is calm without being withdrawn, open without being porous, the nervous system reads safety. And when safety is felt, emotion that's been held back often comes forward. Many people have not had the experience of being emotional without being fixed, judged, or hurried or managed. When they meet someone who is not asking them to be different, the system finally lets go. Tears are often the result. There are also moments in these videos that are harder to watch. A few people yelled at the monks, shouting about hell, claiming exclusive ownership of peace or truth. And again, psychologically, this isn't mysterious. When someone's identity depends on confrontation, quiet presence feels threatening. When moral certainty is used to regulate fear, non-reactivity feels like an affront. If your sense of meaning requires escalation, calm becomes intolerable. The monks don't argue back. not because they agree, but because reacting would collapse the very thing they're embodying. Non-reactivity is a boundary. We're living in a culture that confuses intensity with sincerity, volume with conviction, and outrage with moral seriousness. Public life is loud. Social life is performative. Media is optimized for arousal. Most people are operating with chronically activated nervous systems, not because they're weak, but because the environment trains it. Constant stimulation, constant evaluation, constant urgency. So when something quiet appears, it doesn't just feel different, it feels necessary. The monks aren't offering answers, they're offering relief. It's also not accidental that many people notice these emotional responses more strongly when watching videos than when reading about them. Music, visual pacing, and slow motion go straight to the body. They bypass analysis. They amplify effect. Reading, by contrast, requires cognition to stay online. It naturally contains emotion. This doesn't mean people are being tricked or manipulated in a moral sense. It means the nervous system is responding honestly to the inputs it's being given. Highly sensitive people feel this immediately. And it's why many people quietly curate their media toward gentle forms of storytelling, or toward reading, or toward silence. Not because they can't tolerate reality, but because they don't need to rehearse threat in order to feel alive. Here's the deeper question underneath all of this. What does it say about us that people cry when they encounter someone who isn't reactive? It suggests how much emotional compression has become normal, how much containment has been replaced with endurance, how rarely people are allowed to be present without being productive, impressive, or defended. The monks likely could not function easily in most modern work environments without sacrificing what makes them stabilizing. That's not because they lack competence, but because those environments are not designed for nervous system coherence. Their presence isn't exceptional because they are extraordinary beings. It's exceptional because our structures are exhausting. This brings me to the most important distinction. Peace that is lived looks quiet. Peace that is performed looks loud. One reduces load, the other demands attention. Lived peace does not argue itself into existence. It does not require enemies. It does not need to win. And it does not mean disengagement from reality. It means refusing to let justified anger become one's permanent posture. The monks are not models to imitate theatrically. They are mirrors. They're showing us what non-reactivity looks like in motion. What happens when someone stops carrying unnecessary load? What kind of response presence alone can evoke? The question isn't whether we should all become monks. The question is, what are we carrying that we don't need to be carrying? What urgency are we borrowing that isn't ours? What would happen if we practiced staying instead of escalating? We don't need more shouting. We don't need more certainty. We certainly don't need more performance. What we seem to be starving for is steadiness, purpose, not the absence of feeling, but the capacity to hold it. Not withdrawal from the world, but presence without agenda. Watching these monks walk through crowds isn't moving because they are doing something extraordinary. It's moving because they're showing us something we've almost forgotten how to be.
That wraps up this episode of The Psychology of Us with Professor R.J. Starr. Each conversation is a step toward greater understanding of ourselves, each other, and the forces that shape human behavior. Listeners are invited to continue the conversation by sharing their thoughts, questions, and topic suggestions at profrjstarr@outlook.com. Every message helps shape future episodes, ensuring the discussions remain relevant, thought-provoking, and meaningful.
For those who find value in these explorations, subscribing and leaving a review is a great way to support the podcast and bring these insights to a wider audience. Until next time, stay curious, stay thoughtful, and keep exploring the psychology of us.